The courtroom was silent. Cameras flashed. Reporters leaned forward, but no one could believe their eyes. Wheeled into the room wasn't a young man in handcuffs, or even a middle-aged defendant. It was a frail, hunched figure, his hands trembling, his skin paper-thin, his body so weak he needed help just to sit upright. Yet behind those fading eyes was a man accused of some of the darkest crimes in history. This was Joseph Schutz, a 101-year-old former Nazi concentration camp guard, the oldest person in history ever put on trial for war crimes. Imagine it. At 101 years old, most people are surrounded by grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and caretakers. Their lives are measured in moments of peace, reflection, and the slow passage of time. But not Joseph Schutz. Instead of living out his final days quietly, he was rolled into a courtroom, accused of assisting in the murder of more than 3,500 prisoners during World War II. The world had waited decades for this moment. Survivors of the Holocaust, now elderly themselves, watched closely, some in tears. Justice, though delayed, had finally arrived. During World War II, Schutz served as an SS guard at the Sachsenhausen concentration camp, just outside Berlin. There, thousands of innocent people, Jews, political prisoners, and others, were starved, tortured, and killed. For years after the war, Schutz lived quietly in Germany, working as a locksmith and raising a family. He never spoke of his past. His neighbors saw him as nothing more than an ordinary old man. But investigators never stopped digging. In recent decades, Germany renewed its commitment to prosecuting even the lowest-ranking officials of the Nazi regime. And eventually, Schutz's name surfaced. When the trial began in 2021, Schutz claimed innocence. He said he had done nothing wrong and insisted he had no role in the killings. But prosecutors presented overwhelming evidence, documents, testimonies, and historical records. They showed that as a guard, he wasn't just a bystander. He had enabled the machinery of death to function. Survivors testified about life inside Sachsenhausen, the starvation, the cruelty, the endless fear. One woman, now in her late 90s, said, "We waited all our lives for this. Even if he is old, he must face the truth." The defense tried to argue that at his age, prison was meaningless. But the judge made it clear the crimes were too severe, too unforgivable to be ignored. Finally, after months of testimony, the verdict was read. Joseph Schutz was found guilty of accessory to murder in more than 3,500 cases. The sentence, 5 years in prison. For a 101-year-old man, it was effectively a life sentence. The oldest person ever convicted of war crimes would likely die behind bars. The courtroom was still. Some survivors wept, not out of joy, but relief. Justice, though delayed by more than 7 decades, had finally been served. The case of Joseph Schutz proved something chilling yet powerful. Age does not erase guilt. Time does not wash away blood. He lived long enough to believe he had escaped justice. But in the end, truth caught up with him. For the victims and their families, his frail body and failing health didn't matter. What mattered was accountability. And so, the world learned a haunting lesson. There is no expiration date on justice. Joseph Schutz died shortly after his conviction, never completing his prison sentence. But his trial set a precedent that even the very old, no matter how much time has passed, can be forced to answer for their crimes. So the next time you picture a criminal in court, don't just imagine the young and reckless. Picture a man over a century old, wheeled in before the eyes of the world, forced to face justice at last. Do you believe criminals this old should still be tried, or should time be allowed to bury the past? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories where the truth is stranger than fiction.